Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Normal Vol fan, joined alongside with Ryan. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I mean, we had a nice blowout win against Vanderbilt on both sides, men's and women's. On the men's side, all around great performance by everybody. Everybody was hitting their shots. Everyone was playing well, passing the ball. Defense was awesome. And, yeah, I mean, we're going to take a deep dive into some baseball news, some things we think that maybe could be improved upon. And I want to talk about some, fan comments that is just ridiculous on Twitter over one loss in baseball, but we'll get to that. Yeah. Anyways, Let's take a deep dive into the men's basketball game. 88-53 victory at home against Vanderbilt. What'd you think about it? Who stood out to you?
Well, as far as it was the biggest thing to me about the game, before I get to the players I thought stood out, was the Zakai Ziegler played the most minutes of anybody on the team, and he played 24 minutes. That's beautiful, especially when you're getting late in the season and people's legs are getting tired. And the bigger thing is you get to see Cade Phillips, you get to see Cameron Carr, you get to see Freddie DeLeon for more than just a cameo of, a few possessions. So that's the main takeaway to me. And then as far as the players who played the best, you really had a balanced scoring attack amongst all the starters. You had Ziegler with 14, Connect with 14, Triple J with 13, Vescovi with 12, and Adu with 11. And then the people who finished out the last 12 minutes of the game, kept the lead at 30 or more. So it was an all-around great performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like we finally saw a Vescovi showcase to where he seemed a lot more confident in this game, to where all his shots were just smooth. It's like he wanted to shoot the ball that day. And when he's hitting shots, man, this team is almost unbeatable. Especially when you got Triple J doing his thing. He's turned it around, complete 360. And, it's huge for this team. When Triple J and Vescovi are playing at their best, where Dalton Connect doesn't have to score 30 for this team to win, it's huge. So another guy that really stood out and played really well, in my opinion, was Awaka. I mean, he had 2 or 3 and ones, and just the guy's a monster. I think a little bit more time with him, he's going to be a real good big man come the future. I mean, he already is, but I think he's just going to get better as the time goes on.
Yeah, for sure. Awaka was dominant. Adu played pretty well for the minutes he was in, and we out-rebounded them. We shot threes better than them. We actually set a season high in three-pointers made. And, it's just all-around dominance like we both figured would happen on our predictions from the last episode. So you can't ask for anything better. And we probably have a chance to do the exact same thing in Columbia, Missouri on Tuesday night. I mean, these two games couldn't have come at a better time, because the narrative coming out of Texas A&M was, the team kind of looked tired. So I think it's awesome that you were able to just coast to the end of the game, like with the last 12 minutes with your young freshman, which, by the way, those minutes will pay dividends down the road, if not, during the end of this year, next year. So it's a really good development.
Absolutely. And what's funny is, man, Carr is an absolute maniac on the defensive end. That kid, I don't know. To me, he earned minutes. He got a couple foul calls that were just, to me, all ball. The kid was all over the court on one side of the, of the court, obviously on the defensive end. Even on the offensive end, I mean, the more minutes he gets, Cameron Carr is going to be a menace next year when he gets a lot more playing time. But yeah, he really stood out to me. Gainey had a struggle. He struggled that night, but it's not a big deal. He's been on fire for the most part, and we really didn't need him to hit his shots. If Gainey hit his shots, we would have won by 50. He missed, I think, 4 or 5 threes, and they were all good shots too. It wasn't 4 shots either. But
yeah, it's kind of crazy. We set a season high in threes with 14, and Dalton Connect made 1, and Jordan Gainey made 0. I mean, that's
that insane.
Just shows you that this team is deep. It's always been deep, and I think the depth is really showing up now when you get to the later stages of conference play.
And the crowd, man, the crowd shocked me for a Vanderbilt game. It was packed. It was loud, and that's what we need, especially with the games coming up. I mean, we got Auburn coming to town, Kentucky's coming to town, Texas A&M's coming to town. We need the crowds to be like that and to give these guys some extra motivation. Not that they're not motivated, but extra motivation to get these wins. Because if you could take those 3 games, I mean, you got a gauntlet at the end of the season. I mean, you got those 3 teams. You got to go to South Carolina, and you got to go to Missouri, and and Alabama. So it's a rough last couple games before March.
Yeah, I think I said on the last episode, those last 4 games, Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, are going to decide who wins or loses the conference. I mean, as simple as that. And those are 4 huge, big-time SEC matchups. I mean, it's going to be a tall task to even win 3 out of 4 there. I mean, I think if you win all 4, I mean, that's almost a miracle, especially having to go to South Carolina and having to go to Alabama. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if we did win all 4, because I think we've already touched on it. This team is deep. They're hitting their stride at the right time. And even if some players don't play well, it was Gainey last night, you can still beat somebody by 30. So
even if it is Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's actually a good team in the first half, and they almost didn't even score 20. Did they score 20?
I think they had 21 in the first half.
Yeah, and they're usually a really good first half team.
Yeah, for sure. And me and you said it before we recorded, but Tennessee could have scored 120 points if they wanted to.
Easily.
I mean, it would have been easy. Yeah, I think Rick
because the starters were out at like the 13th minute mark in the second half.
Yeah, 12 or 13-minute mark, and then we coasted to the end with the people off the bench. Now, the one thing that is concerning to me from the game is that you had Grant Hurst play, you had Colin Coyne play, you had Freddie DeLeon play, Cade Phillips play, Cameron Carr play, but still no DJ Jefferson. So it's really looking like he's probably going to be gone at the end of the year. I think we all kind of forgot about this, but he was suspended from the team but before the season started, and maybe he's still in the doghouse among the coaching staff, specifically Rick Barnes. So you never know.
Miss practice or something.
Yeah, it was something like that, and there's a lot of reports that say he was real close to just being flat out dismissed from the program. But I don't really want to speculate further than that. But that did happen, and I don't think you can say with a straight face that isn't having an effect on his lack of playing time, which would be 0 minutes the entire year. So,
well, especially in a game like that, like everyone got in, even guys I didn't even know that were on the team got to play, and there's obviously something going on, but obviously we're outside the loop and we won't know. But I hope it gets worked out, because I think he is a good player and he definitely has a lot of potential. So.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the one negative thing from the game, like, we're doing pretty good. And the last point I wanted to make about that game is, well, I've kind of already made this point, but I just want to stress how important it is that our our player with the most minutes logged was Zakai Ziegler with 24, and that's 15 minutes less than he normally plays. He played the whole game against Texas A&M, and he played 30-plus minutes against Arkansas. It's those minutes that, he didn't have to play the other night are so valuable because he is carrying the load point guard-wise. I mean, it's –
And he's proven. He's been an absolute stud all year. Obviously, everyone has that couple games where, you just don't show up, which is okay. I mean, no one's perfect. No one's going to be LeBron James in college. And but yeah, I mean, overall, great performance by the men's team. But going into the women's team played absolutely incredible today, and they look like a rejuvenated group that, when playing the way they played, because Vanderbilt girls basketball has been doing good this year, and they came in and really showed what they had. I mean, they just barely lost to South Carolina. They gave it up in the fourth quarter. They showed that they could hang around with teams like that. And that was with, I think you said to me, I mean, Spear didn't really play well in the South Carolina game. And, they just 86-61 against Vanderbilt on the road. Rakia Jackson, obviously just another awesome performance with 24 points, 7 boards, and 4 assists. But, Spear, great 6-point. She had, 16 points, but, I mean, that's huge for coming off a game where she struggled. So what did you think about it? Did you get to watch the game?
I didn't get to see it. I was playing some golf this afternoon, but I think I said it last time too, the last episode, that if Jewel Spear does what she normally does against South Carolina, you probably win that game. So it's a great bounce back performance for her, especially on the road in SEC play against a decent team, like you said. And if the Lady Vols, their remaining schedule, they still have to play at LSU. They still have to. Let me look here. Still have to play LSU. Still, they get A&M at home, and then they get South Carolina on the road. So you got 2 out of those 3 matchups are pretty tough. But I think it's not unrealistic to think that we can grab one of. I think LSU at home is the game that you really need to grab if you want to move your seeding up a little and have a good chance in the tournament to at least get to the Sweet 16.
And LSU is definitely beatable this year.
Yeah, especially if we're playing in Knoxville. I mean, I think there was drama with LSU at the start of the year with Angel Reese and their coach. I forget her name. Everybody knows what she looks like.
I call her the Peacock.
Yeah, she dresses very flamboyantly, which, more power to her. She's a great coach. Kim Mulkey.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, there was drama between her and Angel Reese at the beginning of the year, which I don't think anybody really knows what actually happened. And they also have Haley Van Lith. But I think they've kind of underperformed this year based on their expectations coming into the year. But I still think they've played well enough where that would be a huge win when you're talking about seeding for the women's big tournament.
Absolutely. And I don't mean to skip past them a lot of the time, but they really, I wouldn't call them a super disappointment this year because they're obviously still going to make the tournament. They have a potential to be probably a 7-8 seed, probably, maybe. I mean, if you lose 2 games out of the 3, you'll probably end up being a 9 seed, which is okay. Just get in the tournament and, win the games you got to win. But you got anything else you want to cover on the women's side?
I think that's it, man. It's the same deal with the men. I mean, you got 3 big games at the end of the year against pretty good teams in conference. So it's a huge opportunity on the women's side as well to close out the season.
Absolutely, and we'll see what Kelly Harper could do, and hopefully, I mean, you think about it, if she wins 2 out of 3 and goes maybe to the Sweet 16 or even the Elite 8, she might have a potential of keeping her job. I don't know about what you think about that, but
yeah, well, we'll just have to see. However we end the year, which. I'm open to keeping her if she makes a Final Four or an Elite 8 run, but it's looking unlikely at this point. And, the point is just do the best you can and then assess the program whenever the season is finished.
Absolutely. Now let's take a deep dive into some baseball. Baseball team had played 2 games already. They're about to start their 3rd game here in a couple minutes, but won the first game against a good Texas Tech team, won 6-2, played really well. Russell obviously had a great game, but we lost in extra innings against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is not a bad team. They're a very good team. Lost 5-1 in extras off a silly coaching decision that I thought was a rookie coaching decision. Aaron Combs pitched really well to the point, where they should have took him out after he walked his first guy. Then he comes in and walks another guy, and you decide to leave him in the game. Now, I understand their logic there, but I think it was time to pull him, and, we could have possibly gotten out of that inning with only 1 run given up. But, tough loss, but, last year we lost to Grand Canyon in the first couple games of the season. So a lot of these fans talking about how we're not going to go to Omaha. This season just started, and there's a lot of baseball left. So definitely need to keep those comments down, in my opinion.
Yeah. The overreaction and the melting down over one. It's the 2nd game of the year, people. Everybody just needs to calm down for a second. Don't be a redneck and say, "Oh, this team ain't gonna do nothing. They can't hit after 2 games." We went through this last year. We lost 2 out of the 3 games to begin last year too in Arizona, and against far worse teams than we're playing this year and in the tournament to start the year, or the games we have to start the year. And we were also 5-10 through SEC play in baseball last year and ended up still making the College World Series. So people just need to take everything with a grain of salt right now. Things are going to shake themselves out before conference play starts. And, you mentioned the coaching decision by Tony. It was probably the wrong move based on the result that happened. But if we catch that ball in left field, which was very
Agreed.
catchable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a play that you probably could even say should have been made. You might be looking at it completely differently. But what happened, and we ended up losing that game. But, it's like you said, Oklahoma's a good team. They're an experienced team. They went to Omaha 2 years ago. It's not like we're playing, little sisters of the poor here. We're playing good teams in an MLB ballpark. So everybody needs to chill out for a second. And we have a chance against Baylor tonight to finish the weekend strong. And I really believe we will, because I think this lineup is too good, hitting wise, power wise. The pitching's too good for a game like last night to happen too much this year.
Absolutely, and going to another coaching decision. 3rd game of the season, and Tony's already flipped the lineup card upside down pretty much. He's got Hunter Ensley leading off with Dylan Dreiling batting second, with Simo at third, batting third, and then you get to see Dalton Bargo, a Missouri transfer that I think is going to be another great hitter in this lineup, and then followed by Billy Amick, Cannon Peebles, Blake Burke, Brad Keylori, and Tiers. This lineup is absolutely loaded. The fact that you have Blake Burke batting 7th is absolutely ridiculous. And even Tiers batting 9th is ridiculous. I like to see Laurie turn it around a little bit. I like his attitude. Does he not remind you of Drew Gilbert? Just his little attitude when he goes to the plate. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, this kid, he's going to be something.
Yeah, his demeanor just seems like he's going to jerk one out of the ballpark every time he steps in the box, which is it's what you want. I think a lot of baseball is mental, If you go up there thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna strike out or ground into an out at first," I mean, you're never gonna be much because baseball's hard. It's hard enough to hit a baseball. When you get in your own head, it's even harder. So I love seeing that attitude, and I think a lot of the players on this team showcase that attitude. And you know, can you go over the lineup again? Is Christian Moore in the lineup tonight?
Yeah, he's batting third.
Okay, good, because he is.
Dude, he's a stud. That kid.
Yeah.
Realistically, he hit a home run last night. I don't know if you watched that, but that was a home run.
Yeah, I mean, he is an MLB ready hitter right now. I mean, he's so good, and I really don't see him moving out of the 3-hole the entire year. And he's great on defense too. I mean, I think he's going to be the best position player for the Vols this year, hands down.
Absolutely, and you got to remember our shortstop's actually hurt. That freshman, he's hurt, and once he comes back, you'll have Simo move back to second, and we'll have a true shortstop. Not saying Simo's playing bad at all. I'm just saying Simo's natural position is second base, but he's playing really well at shortstop, stepping in a spot that we really need him, and but yeah, I mean, hopefully Xander will pitch, as well as as advertised. He was 0-1 last year. He didn't get to pitch a lot, obviously, because we had Dolander and Burns and all that. But I mean, if Tennessee can win tonight, you beat two really good teams and lost to a really good team. I mean, going 2-1 in a weekend like this is really good. The pitching has looked absolutely amazing so far. I just don't see how people could be upset, especially if we win this game tonight. Come out of this weekend 2-1. Your schedule's looking pretty nice. I mean, you verse UNC Asheville at home, ETSU at home, and then Albany for 3 games at home. And then you got a nice little easy gauntlet of games coming your way. And this team could really, use a big win tonight and take the momentum into this long stretch of games.
Yep. I mean, non-conference play in college baseball is normally not too challenging. It's like you said, you have a chance to win some games, gain some confidence before you really get things going in conference play. And I think the Vols will do that. I mean, they're too talented to not be hitting on all cylinders once conference play rolls around next month. And I wrote about this before Friday night, the Vols' first game against Texas Tech. But any sweeping conclusions, this team won't do anything, this team is College World Series bound, should wait until May at the earliest, because conference play is hard. I already mentioned it. Last year we were 5 games below 500 halfway through conference play, and we ended up 16-14. We won 11 of our last 15 games to finish conference play strong. We rode that momentum to the regionals, into the super regionals, and finally into the College World Series in Omaha. So it's like I started this baseball talk with. You have to just be patient with the baseball, even more than basketball. And I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but a lot of Tennessee fans are so used to football and so used to the last 15 years of melting down over one loss that they think that applies to every sport, which it does not. Not even close. Like, baseball and basketball are way different than football. And people just have to realize that, man. It's so annoying to see people just give up 2 games in.
Well, the guy doing it is doing it because he noticed that the only way he gets interactions is saying stupid shit like that.
I think I know who you're talking about, but we'll keep him nameless.
Yeah, I'm not giving no credit. I mean, it's so annoying to see because these athletes, they see this. I mean, they see all our stuff. Believe it or not, even the smaller accounts that you don't think people see it. I mean, if you're talking about Tennessee stuff, I guarantee you they're seeing that stuff because it pops up on their For You page. And, you know, you want these, you know, younger kids that are either verbally committed, especially in football. The football players are on Twitter like crazy. And, I mean, we've talked to Bennett Warren. And he's even said, like, our fan base is crazy. And it's true, and it's not always in a good way. Like, yes, if we're winning, we're absolutely crazy. But when we're losing, oh man, you got like some people get really, really upset and say some really crazy things, which hopefully can, you know, change in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy redneck bullshit. I'm not trying to call everybody rednecks who's negative, but you know, that's just a good catch-all term for these silly takes every time Tennessee happens to lose a game. I mean, it's just crazy, man. I totally agree with all your points there. People see what you say on Twitter, and sometimes the players who actually you're talking about see it too. And you know,
hence Triple J.
Yeah,
he blocked me.
I understand that you know it takes a certain mental toughness to be a college athlete, and looking at Twitter is probably not the best thing to do. But we're talking about, you know, fresh out of high school kids here. They're going to be on social media. They're going to see some of this silly talk. So just watch what you say, try to be positive, and support the boys. I mean, I will take it upon myself to let everybody know when it's time to melt down over the baseball or basketball teams. Just follow me, and I will let you know.
It is true. I mean, I've said it to Ryan in the group chat we have, that, you know, this team sucks, and he gets really upset sometimes because I mean, because that's why I do text somebody. I got to say it in a group chat, and I don't post it on Twitter because sometimes I'm thinking this team sucks when, you know, we're having a rough game, or, you know, I had to turn the game off the other night against Oklahoma. Once they scored 5 runs, I was like, yep, that's it. But you know,
I don't hold anything against you that you say during the heat of a Tennessee sporting event.
Well, that was when Triple J was like non-existent, and like I said, he blocked me on Twitter because he's seen my "Where's Waldo" meme, including him.
Well, he showed up finally.
He did, and I'm taking credit for that. I'm taking full credit for Triple J showing up.
You were the sole reason that happened, man.
Yes, not him practicing shots. Hour and a half after the game, it was me saying "Where's Waldo," featuring Triple J.
Absolutely. Anytime you look in the history books of Tennessee basketball for 2023, 2024, there needs to be an asterisk next to the Kentucky game that says "credit to normal Vol fan."
I'm not against it, and you know, obviously, you know, the baseball game is about to come on and all that, but I do want to talk a little bit about football. I saw someone post a little like top running backs coming back this year, and Dylan Sampson wasn't on that list. And I was really shocked about it because to me, I'm not saying Dylan Sampson's the best running back in college football this coming year, but I think he's top 10.
Oh, yeah, easily. I mean, he's too explosive. This will be his 3rd year in the program. He has a system built around running the ball and a veteran offensive line to block for him. I mean, that's lunacy that he's not in a top 10 list.
Yeah, and I get, you know, Ollie Gordon and Judkins, but, you know, I see him as, I'll probably put, and that's not bias either. I'd probably put him in the top 5 somewhere. But I saw that and I thought I had to mention that because I just, like you said, I mean, this kid's going to be an absolute stud this year. Just hoping he could fix his pass blocking a little bit. I mean, I'm not expecting him to be perfect, but we need to have him, you know, to block for Nico this year. And we can't be relying on Selden to do all the blocking. So, but hopefully, I mean, we got good blocking tight ends too. It's going to be a good year for some football. I'm so excited for this coming football year. It's just, you know, a lot to live up to with this, you know, this team, especially with Nico at the helm.
Yeah. And speaking of running backs and Dylan Sampson, Austin Price put out a piece today on VolQuest that said Tennessee has interviewed Oregon running backs coach Carlos Lachlan and TCU assistant Anthony Jones Jr. They have both been interviewed, and
That's huge. That's huge news.
yeah. And another name that they were able to uncover that we have been talking to was Cincinnati running backs coach Darrell Sims, who was the running backs coach for Carson Newman. He was at Western Carolina, so he knows the East Tennessee to Carolina area. He's been in the South before. And then this is kind of fresher news because of, the recency of Brian Jean Mary going to Michigan, but the only name that Austin Price mentioned on that side that they've heard so far is Roy Manning, who has been with USC the past few years. So just a little coaching search update for everybody there.
Now, realistically, who do you want? My opinion is either the Oregon guy or the TCU guy. But, there's a bunch of good options. Like we talked about last podcast that, Josh, I trust Josh Heupel to make the right choice. But we really need a good recruiter along with the running backs coach. Same thing with the linebackers coach. That's going to be really interesting. But it's nice to hear, that they interviewed already, so that means they're interested. And we'll see what Josh Heupel decides to do.
Yeah, if I was making the coaching decision, I would go with Anthony Jones Jr. at TCU just because he's been in Texas for the past few years. That's always some good recruiting ties to have. And, Carlos Lachlan is right. He's probably second for me too. Oregon has also been dominant in recruiting, and I think, he's got to have something to do with that. But the ties to Texas make me lean towards Anthony Jones Jr. for the time being.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a little bit of a better option just because of that. And, coming from the west side of the United States, going to be hard to take some, kids all the way down south to Knoxville, Tennessee. But, we've been surprised before, but I do expect probably, the TCU, what's his name again?
Who is it? Sorry. You cut out.
What's the TCU guy's name again?
Anthony Jones Jr.
Yeah, I expect Jones Jr. to be probably the number one candidate so far, but I think we got plenty of time. But they're going to want to fill this vacancy pretty quick and get, them accumulated to the system and get them out recruiting right away. Same thing with the linebackers position. I expect these positions to be filled hopefully before the orange and white game.
Yeah, ideally even before spring practice even starts. So I totally agree. It's better to get them in as quickly as possible because the system is not something that you can learn in just a few weeks. I think that's super important to get them locked down ASAP. So, anything
Absolutely.
else? Anything else you want to talk about tonight, man?
I don't think so. Like we got the game about to pop on, and hopefully the boys could, get out of this weekend 2-1. And we got Missouri on Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesday night in Columbia.
Yep, that's another big game. So hopefully the boys can pull it out. But no, I think that's it for today. I think we'll go enjoy some baseball and hopefully a nice dub to round out the weekend.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. So we appreciate everyone listening. Big shout out to if you subscribe. It's free, easy. Like the podcast, and make sure to follow us on X and keep up with the content and news on newer podcasts. But again, I'm Norma Vol fan, and I'm joined with Ryan. And let's go Vols.
Go Vols.